Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Viking Central. I'm your host, Steve Hoikkala, and we got an exciting Week 2 matchup for you. The Atlanta Falcons come to town to U.S. Bank Stadium to take on your Minnesota Vikings. As always, we want to thank our sponsors. We're sponsored by That's Badass Wood Art. Make sure that you use our code VC15 to receive 15% off at checkout. That's Badass Wood Art. Again, Luis at That's Badass Wood Art makes all kinds of cool different wood engravings for your favorite sports teams or anything custom that you would like. So just go ahead, check out their website, that's badasswoodart.com, and use that code VC15 to get 15% off. All right. I also want to make sure that we welcome our other host on the show, Ryan Jones, who's going to be joining us. He's not quite on yet. Hopefully he's still able to join us here later on in the show. He might. I think he's just running a little bit late before he jumps on. But until then, I'm going to go ahead and run through some of the things that I have laid out for the game. At any time throughout the show, if you have questions or comments, or if you have a good camera and mic set up, if you would like to join us on the show and talk Vikings Falcons, I can go ahead and I can send you a link and I'll bring you on the show and you can talk Vikings Falcons with us. Just go ahead, leave a comment, say that you're interested, and shoot me a message of your email and I'll drop you a link. Again, the requirements are you got to have a good mic and you got to have a good camera to bring you on the show. So if that's the case and you want to come talk live on camera, go ahead, drop down the comments, and I'll be willing to bring you on the show tonight to talk Vikings Falcons with me. All right. So when we talk about Vikings Falcons coming to town, the matchup that we want to say is, hey, it's going to be another quarterback battle, same quarterback class. 2024, Michael Penix goes right before JJ McCarthy. And again, the surprise draft was the Falcons taking Michael Penix when they already had Kirk Cousins. And then, of course, following that, the Vikings traded up one pick up to 10 to go ahead and take JJ McCarthy. So with JJ McCarthy and Michael Penix, they're still, relatively rookie quarterbacks, if you will, as far as game time experience goes. Michael Penix didn't start all last season until towards the end. So he didn't get an entire season. So he's still learning himself. We saw last week against Tampa Bay, he had some good plays within the game. But again, he's still learning. And there's still some struggles that Michael Penix is going through too. But he does have a good supporting cast with him in Atlanta. So we'll go ahead and we'll break down this matchup. We'll talk about the different things as far as the keys of the game from the Vikings perspective, and then also maybe some of the things from the Falcons perspective as far as what they maybe want to do to try to target some of what they may perceive as Vikings weaknesses, especially when we talk about our injury report and how they maybe want to take advantage of some of those matchups to where they could have success. So I do see some comments already. Pick King says, just want to say that the Falcons traveled really well. Ever. I'm not sure if you're saying, I think you followed it up. A lot of red in Minnesota right now. Okay. So you're saying a lot of Falcons fans either traveled well, or maybe there's a lot of Falcons fans that live in the Minneapolis area that are attending the game. So it could be a combination of the two. Absolutely. Could be a combination of the two. We'll see what it really looks like on TV. It's a Sunday night football game. So it is one of those primetime matchups. So maybe there are a lot more fans that are trying to travel for the game. We'll kind of see how that kind of plays into things, but I expect the majority of that stadium to be purple. It's still going to be that home field advantage. We'll see how well they truly do travel. It could just be where you're frequenting right now, picking. If you're living in the Minneapolis area, go ahead and comment too. If you're in the downtown area and that's where you're seeing them, or maybe you're at the mall and you saw a lot of Falcons fans that are visiting those touristy spots. Just go ahead and let us know if that's the case too. Like I said, if you want to come on the show, go ahead, drop a drop your email, message me, or PM me. I'll go ahead and I'll drop you a link to go ahead and join the show as well. So Falcons, Vikings, but Michael Penix, yeah, he's the quarterback. But when I think of the Falcons, I don't necessarily think of Michael Penix as the one that scares me. The one that probably scares me the most is the weapons that they have at receiver in Drake London, and then also at running back with Bijan Robinson. So those are probably the two main players that probably scare me when it comes to the Falcons. Now, with the Falcons matchup, before we did face them last year, we were able to get the best of them. But early on, the Falcons were winning that game, and they were having a good game against us. So Sunday Night Football pregame show, we want to make sure that we covered, like I said, the injury report. So who will be on the field, and how is that going to impact the game? So right now, who's out for the Vikings? Jeff Okudah with a concussion. Andrew Van Ginkel at defensive end. He's out with a concussion. Christian Darrisaw. The one guy that I really wanted to see play in this game is unfortunately going to be out with still that knee injury. And then also questionable is going to be Harrison Smith. Again, it's a personal illness that he's dealing with. And most likely this is probably something, could be, personal in the nature of, and I'm just speculating, behavioral health type of reason. And that's why it's not being disclosed like a normal injury would be, such as like a knee or a concussion or whatever it may be. Austin Keys, linebacker, he is questionable with a groin injury. And we'll get into some other things with that. But as far as the Vikings with those injuries, so Jeff Okudah's out, and then Austin Keys is out. So being that Jeff Okudah's out, and also I apologize, another one I believe is out that I didn't have on here was Blake Cashman. So with no Jeff Okudah and Blake Cashman, who gets to start in their place? So with the 53-man roster, we did see that Gabriel Murphy was brought up as well too, as another individual. So with Blake Cashman out, he's a linebacker, but he's more of an edge, Gabriel Murphy. So he's brought up to the 53-man roster, and then also Fabian Moreau as a cornerback was brought up as well too. So I don't see Fabian Moreau or Gabriel Murphy getting a start in their place per se. But what I see happening is, Blake Cashman typically has that green dot. I see Ivan Pace taking that role. And we did see Eric Wilson do a really good job at linebacker. I think he kind of slides now into that Ivan Pace role, if you will. So at the end of the Bears game, Eric Wilson was doing a fantastic job. I really don't have a whole lot of worries in that sense with Eric Wilson kind of coming and taking that place. Obviously, it still hurts having Blake Cashman on the sideline, but I'm really encouraged by seeing the level of play that Wilson was able to provide us. And, again, Ivan Pace has done the green dot before, so it's not like it's something that he's never done. As far as Jeff Okudah, so he's the CB3, so he's the third cornerback. Fabian Moreau, I don't see him coming up from the practice squad and then getting the start over Dwight McGlothern. So your top three are going to be Byron Murphy Jr., and then after that, it's going to be Isaiah Rodgers and Dwight McGlothern. I think Fabian Moreau is in more of that fourth role. I do expect to see a lot more three safety looks. So you're going to see Josh Metellus out there as well as Jackson and Ward. So I think that is definitely going to be more the defensive play where there's three safeties out there with two corners. Some of the comments that I see out there, Cryptomothy 617 says they report Harrison has been sidelined with a hemorrhoid issue. That could be. Again, I said I'm just speculating, and yeah, don't speculate on the mental. I'm just saying it could be something like that, where they don't have to if it's something, personal that's embarrassing or whatnot, and maybe that's why, absolutely. It could be something like that. I guess I hadn't seen a hemorrhoid issue be something like that, but if you have like a certain, let's just say a death in the family, or you're dealing with something different, that could be a reason why it's not disclosed. You never know what somebody's dealing with there on the personal side. Um, Another thing, Fat Killa says injury list is concerning. Van Ginkel and Cashman out sucks. Wilson needs to step up huge again. Yeah, he does, but I think he showed in the Bears game that he has the ability to possibly really make that impact. And I don't think, I'm not saying it's not a drop off. Like I said, I just think it was encouraging to see Wilson really gave us like a boost of energy when he came onto the field. Now, again, he's coming in fresh at that point in the game, but he definitely came in and gave us a boost on the defensive side of the ball for sure. Tim White says 2 back-to-back primetime games that show out. Absolutely. It's kind of crazy starting off the season. And yeah, we had a really good record last year. But this is kind of abnormal for, let's just look at where the Vikings were picked to start the season, at least by major media. Major media had the Lions, the Packers, and depending on as it got close to the season, some were even picking the Packers over the Lions. But the Vikings weren't picked to win the division because everyone was saying, hey, the question mark, JJ McCarthy. There was even a lot of major media picking the Vikings to be on the bottom of the division. And we'll see how that all plays out. But with that being said, if that's the projection, we're projected in most rankings, third or fourth. The fact that we're getting 2 back-to-back primetime games to start the season is kind of surprising. And then right after that, in this season, we're gonna end up having back-to-back overseas games too. So to an extent, you could say those are almost, I wouldn't say primetime games, but they're highlighted games where you don't have a whole lot of competition as far as like a Sunday noon game would have, to where everyone's playing at the same time. Cryptomathy did say Chip Scoggins and Dougie Wolfson reported Harrison's issue on Purple Daily earlier this week. Just FYI, I did not see that episode. So if that is the case, hey, hopefully that's something he's able to overcome. There's something that they're able to do for that. For that to be, the issue. I don't know. Maybe he had to have surgery on it, and maybe that's what kept him out since early August. Kind of hard to say. I didn't see that episode and what maybe in-depth knowledge that they have on that situation. I just hadn't seen anything from the team that they actually came out and said, hey, this is what it is. So it would be great to see the team come out and report something on it, but because maybe that's in personal nature, maybe that's why they're not doing that, and they're just listening as a personal illness. So that would make sense too. The other thing that we want to take a look at is with this injury report is who do the Falcons have out? So Jamal Agnew at wide receiver. And also I just want to say, Cryptomathy, thanks for adding that. I appreciate that. Jamal Agnew, wide receiver, out with a groin. And Casey Washington, wide receiver, concussion. I'm not going to say those don't really matter, but they're not primetime starters. And then, as you don't see on here, Darnell Mooney's back. So, he's a starter. He's their wide receiver too. So none of these guys are even breaking the wide receiver 3 part on their depth chart. So, that's not really something that's going to hurt their team to that extent. Some guys that play special teams, sure. So where that could have an impact. Jack Nelson, offensive tackle with a calf. Jordan Fuller at safety, and then questionable Billy Bowman, nickelback. DeMarco Hellmans at safety with a hamstring is questionable, and then James Pierce, defensive end, groin. And we'll come back to the Falcons on that piece too. So that's what the injury report looks like. So because we don't have Christian Darrisaw, it comes back to who starts at left tackle. Is it going to be School again or Rouse? So during last game against the Bears, there was a lot of discussion as far as who is going to get that start. It ended up being school, and then social media definitely was not happy with the performance that school was providing. When it came out, it definitely it was only four pressures, and I shouldn't say only four pressures, but it was four pressures that he allowed. But it definitely seemed like a lot more than that. Yeah, I mean, hopefully, if he's the one starting, we see a better performance. He did play better late in the game than he did early on. Um, Walter Rousey, a lot of people on social media were saying, "Hey, why wasn't he started? Why was school starting over him?" Just something to keep in mind. Again, these guys are backup tackles for a reason. They're not starters somewhere. So that's not saying they can't be good, but I mean, if they were good enough to start somewhere, they'd be starting for a team. So not saying they're not good, and I mean, we'll see. Hopefully, we get some better play. Again, you had to consider we were playing a Bears defense that does have some pretty good defensive end play. So when you got Montez Sweat that's trying to take advantage of Darisaw being out, that's not an easy matchup even for a lot of starting left tackles in the league. So with those guys there, the question is, are they going to be able to give JJ enough time? I think we saw early on he wasn't getting enough time to where wide receivers maybe weren't, getting to their route in time because he was getting rushed. I think that's part of it. So can the offense get going early? Definitely possible. Hopefully we can ride the momentum off of the Bears game into this Falcons game to where, I'm not saying that we instantly have it, but I would like to see, usually that first drive it's scripted. So we have an idea of how we want to attack that Falcons defense. Hopefully we see a better performance in that scripted first drive. And I think that will be fairly telling in those first couple drives of maybe what sets the tempo. Um, it, and you know what, people talk about, hey, that football psycho that is JJ, and we saw that in the fourth quarter, and the fire was lit, and that's great. When he needed to light the fire, he lit the fire. I'd like to see him come out with that fire though early in the gate, early out of the gate. So hopefully that's the case. We can get the offense going early, and maybe get on top of a team early. A team like the Falcons, who also have a young quarterback. I think he has maybe 7 starts under his belt, Michael Penix. So we definitely have the ability as a defense to take advantage of a quarterback that still doesn't have a whole lot of experience in Michael Penix, and we have a very good defense. So that is a possibility as well. So back to, can the offense get going early? So Adam Thielen as well as Jetta's, so Jetta's being out with that hamstring injury, it took a while, maybe for them to get going in the chemistry and the timing. Same thing with Adam Thielen, just getting traded from Carolina and coming in too. It's not always going to be automatic. And, sometimes you just need a little bit before you're able to, develop the chemistry, get back into the playbook. If you're Adam Thielen coming from the Panthers, it's a totally different mindset, and it's a different type of offense than what they're running in Carolina and plays as well too. So, and I just got a text. Hopefully Ryan's able to jump on us. I think he's having issues with his PC and he's restarting here. Other thing I want to jump into. Okay, so when we talk about the defense, we got no Van Ginkel. So can Dallas Turner shine in the starting role? So Andrew Van Ginkel is a Pro Bowler. He's dynamic. He was in the NFL top 100 players this year. Obviously that's going to hurt not having him. I mean, the sad thing is for all of us fans is we don't get to see the possibility of a Gink 6 off of a screen pass in this game. I think that's always like something that, after he did it once, even twice, but I mean, he had a couple close ones last year. I think every time you saw a screen pass go to the side of Andrew Van Ginkel. I think I think we just kind of got excited that, hey, could he do it again? Um, so that's definitely something that we'll have to watch for and see if Andrew Van Ginkel is able to, to see if the replacement for Andrew Van Ginkel, which is Dallas Turner, if Dallas Turner is able to kind of fill those shoes in his opportunity in a starting role, and can he produce? So he's shown good things in camp. I think he showed a little bit in even that last game in the rotation. Um, with his moves and pressuring late in that game where the defense really got going. So um, yeah, I'm hoping he has a big game and he shines. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. I'm hoping that we see that big time edge rusher. That's why we drafted him. Remember, we traded back up to go get him at 15. So we didn't have to do that, but we saw the potential in him. So again, you traded away additional draft capital to go back and go get Dallas Turner, which I agree with. And I was super excited. I think a lot of us were excited because he was actually projected to go 8 at that time to Michael, or sorry, in the position that Michael Penix went. He was projected to go to the Falcons. Like that was like something that a lot of experts thought was just like a lock. So he was supposed to be a top 10 pick. He ended up sliding a little bit. Vikings came back and said, hey, we got to go get this guy. So hopefully now in year 2, he's bulked up a little bit. He still has that speed. He has those moves, so hopefully we can see him shine in that starting role to make some big plays. I'm going to go ahead and take this time to go ahead and thank our next sponsor that we have, which is Homage. So we do have that link up top, but I'm going to go ahead and play that ad for Homage here real quick. .io/Vikings. That's one of the ways that you guys can support us is by going to Homage and checking out all the cool clothing that they have there. Again, I have it. Brett has it. I think probably Ryan and Austin also wear some of their stuff as well. So they got some really cool clothing. Please go check it out. Homage, thank you again. Next thing we're going to go ahead and jump into is Ryan's trying to get on. He says he's trying everything. Computer's not cooperating. So we'll see if we can get him on. So we're going to go into the Falcons piece, and this is kind of still with our defense as well, and looking at it from both ends. But like I said, one of the players that that I fear that could really affect this game is going to be Bijan Robinson. So in his role in a running back, obviously he is a good running back. He is a good running back, but he's a 3-down back. So he can hurt you in the screen game. He can hurt you in the pass game, kind of like Aaron Jones did last week. So he has that deep threat capability. We saw it last week in week 1 versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where he had a 50-yard touchdown, receiving touchdown. But what I will say is Tampa Bay, and I posted this earlier as well too, and I think it was PFF that had the post on it, but it was talking about how Tampa Bay was able to limit and minimize basically the effectiveness of the Falcons run game with Bijan Robinson. So I'm sure that the Vikings were taking a look at the tape as far as what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were doing to go ahead and limit their runs. And I'm just going to go ahead and look at that box score real quick. And so as far as rushing goes, Tyler Algier, the backup running back, had 10 carries for 24 yards. And Bijan Robinson had 12 carries for 24 yards. So they almost split carries at the running back role. But where Bijan Robinson came up big is in the receiving game. Like I said, he had that one receiving touchdown for 50 yards in a touchdown, but he had a total of 6 receptions for 100 yards with that touchdown. So that's where he is just he's special in that sense. that he can hurt you in different ways. So you really have to, you can't really just think he's in the backfield, he's going to run the ball on us. We need to be in a run defense package or a run mindset with Bijan in the backfield. So you don't know what that offense is going to do with him back there. Tyler Algier is a very capable backup running back as well. But whatever Tampa Bay was able to do last week, we need to be able to emulate at least in the rushing game, to make in the rush defense game. Now, we're missing Blake Cashman. So that also means that we have to do a good job of making sure that our linebackers are able to bounce out and be able to cover Bijan. That's a tough task. Again, just like the receiving capability that Aaron Jones Bijan has that as well. So we have to make sure that we're accounting for him in the receiving game, and we got to limit the big plays. And that's where this Vikings defense did a great job last year, is limiting those big plays. Sometimes it was maddening because, you'd see, offenses just kind of chip away at us, but we didn't allow the big play. And sometimes, they chip away at us, but if we're only allowing 3, but we don't allow the touchdown, that allows our offense to stay in the game or, widen our lead. If we're not allowing 7, that's kind of the big thing. I mean, yeah, you don't want to always allow scores, but it's kind of that bend don't break type of defense that Brian Flores is able to run. So that's what I would say is, hopefully we're mimicking. We reviewed that tape and we're able to have the same type of level of success that Tampa Bay had versus Atlanta in their run game. With no Jeff Okudah and Blake Cashman, we talked about who gets their start. But what I didn't talk, I think maybe I did talk about it. Yes, I did. I talked about Fabian Moreau. So again, he's going to be a backup piece. He was with us last year. But Gabriel Murphy. So Gabriel Murphy was really good in the preseason, and he showed that he had the ability to get to the quarterback. And again, we're talking about second string players that are out there while he's making these plays. But he's a very capable edge rusher. So we don't have Andrew Van Ginkel out there. So could we see, is it very possible that Gabe Murphy's out there? Absolutely. Bo Richter's out there as well too. But we could see Gabe Murphy possibly get in that rotation and see some actual playing time in this game and going after Michael Penix. So that is just something to keep an eye on. Gabe Murphy was one of those players that we were kind of shocked that he wasn't on the 53 initially, and then super relieved to see that somehow he made it through the waiver wire and we were able to sign him back onto our practice team. I don't know. Maybe I should stop talking about him because if he ends up going back down to our practice team, I don't want someone to snipe him. But if he shows out up here, during the Falcons, I mean, they may have no choice but to keep him on the 53 to make sure that he doesn't get sniped. So the Falcons get Daryl Mooney back. So will the Vikings be able to limit big plays in the passing game? Now, remember, they have a couple threats. Some of you are probably rolling your eyes when you see Kyle Pitts on here too, but Kyle Pitts had a decent game. So he was targeted 8 times versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He had 7 receptions for 59 yards. That's a good game for a tight end. So that's a lot of different targets that he's getting. Now, in the passing game, Drake London he was targeted 15 times in that Tampa Bay game. Now, he was only able to bring in 8 of those for 55 yards. But man, he was receiving a lot of targets. Now, that was a lot of that had to do, Mooney's not in the game as well too. So your main 3 targets were Robinson, Pitts, and London. But now you get Mooney back. And then Ray McLeod is your wide receiver 3 in there too. He had 3 catches for 51 yards. And Ray's got some speed to where in the slot he can hurt you in the slot, Ray McLeod. Yeah, so I mean, we definitely have to do a good job of limiting them in the passing game, but a big part of that is going to be our pass rush. So can Dallas Turner be successful with Grenard? We saw early in the Bears game. Now against a very good offensive line, we saw with a very good offensive line, it was tough for us to get pressures on Michael Penix. As far as the Tampa Bay defense and the success that they had against the Atlanta defense last week, they were only able to get 1 sack. Tampa Bay, it was not very successful in getting to the quarterback last week. Now, they did have 7 tackles for loss, so they were very successful in the run stop game. But as far as getting to Michael Penix, now, whether that's, them rolling him out in the pocket in play action type setups or his just escapability, it was hard for him. They had 4 QB hits on him. It was just not a super successful day as far as getting to the quarterback. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't have their pressures on here as far as how many times they pressured them, but they weren't actually able to get home and get those sacks in that game. So that's one thing I can tell you in that. Any other comments that you guys have, go ahead, throw on the screen. I'll go ahead and talk about that as well. But I'd like to know what you guys are thinking as far as game predictions in here. I'm going to go ahead and give my game prediction here at the end. I'm hoping that Ryan's able to still join us to talk a little bit and give his input. But what kind of game prediction? What do you think the score is going to be between Atlanta and Minnesota? Obviously, a lot of you guys are, possibly all of you guys are Vikings fans that are watching that, unless we have any Falcons fans that are also invading our Viking Central channel just to see what we're talking about. But, I'm sure a lot of us coming off of that Bears win think that we have a really good chance at home and we should win this game. So I believe the spread right now is 3.5 points. So more money is coming in on the Atlanta side. I think some of that has to do with our injury report and who we have out there. I think a lot of people see that, hey, Harrison Smith may not play yet, and that the biggest one being Darisaw and Van Ginkel being on the out. So missing 2 Pro Bowl type players on this Vikings team, that's huge. And a third one, if you want to count, even though he's in aging, but still a very effective Harrison Smith, possibly not in this game. That could be what's affecting that money line, especially with the Falcons now getting Mooney back. But again, we're favored. Usually you get 3 points for being the home team, so that's not a very big spread leaning towards the Vikings. A lot of experts that I've seen that are picking these games, at least the majority, are still leaning towards Vikings in this game. As am I. So go ahead, throw those in the comments if you have any. If you want to give your score prediction, or if it's too early for you to want to give your score prediction, we'll go ahead and talk about that a little bit as well. So delving back into this Vikings Falcons game and how this ends up lining up, we saw that Javon Hargrave was able to get a couple sacks in last week's game, and Jonathan Allen should have had a sack. He was very close in that game. Now, just because he didn't get home and be able to bring down Caleb Williams, even though he should have, Jonathan Allen showed he had the ability to do that. So we almost had 3 sacks just from our inside defensive line. That's pretty impressive stuff. That's great to see on this Vikings team. And hopefully it's something that we see carry on throughout the season. Now, we didn't get home with our edge rushers, which I thought would definitely be the case. It seemed like we had a lot of different opportunities, but the escapability that, surprising escapability that Caleb Williams showed really, wiped away several opportunities that could have been sacks. With his escapability, say he wasn't able to get away. That very easily could have been a 5-6 sack type of game. But the way that he was moving and juking us in that game, we just weren't able to bring him down in the backfield. So it's not like we weren't getting some pressure in the backfield against the Bears. We were. It's just once Caleb Williams had some pressure, he was able to maneuver in that pocket, in and out of the pocket, and then make moves on our defenders to make a miss. So hopefully we can show in this game that we're able to take down Penix and not let him escape like we did versus Caleb Williams and the Bears. And we're able to produce more sacks going into this week. And if we're able to do that, and put them now in third and long situations, obviously that puts us in more favorable situations where we can kind of pin our ears back on the defense, drop more back in coverage, and possibly, end up with more opportunities to either have the ball, have them punt, or potentially even turnovers. The other thing I want to bring up with that is with our defense, we had, I want to say it probably took halfway in the third quarter, Brian Flores just hit a switch and said, you know what, it's go time. It's time to put on the pressure. He hit that button and, now we're sending 5 all of a sudden. We weren't doing that early in the game. We were trying to get home with 4. But then, he was saying blitz, blitz, blitz. And I'm not saying all the time, but, I'd like to see us be a little bit more aggressive a little bit early on. Nolan Stout says this game is a tie if I've ever seen one. Neither team wins or loses. This won't be a tie. There will be a team that wins this game. Yes, ties do happen, but I don't think this will be the case for that. I think Ryan is now with us. I'm going to go ahead and test this out. Bring you on the stage there, big guy. We're going to see if it works. You might still be having internet problems. Can you hear me, Ryan?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
You still there, Ryan?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. And I don't know why you dropped off there, but I think I can hear you. Your video is a little bit choppy, though.
Is it?
Yep.
I'll tell you what, since that storm last week, I've had all kinds of internet problems. So I don't know.
Well, we'll do the best that we can with it. And yeah, it's it's definitely a little bit choppy. So we'll see what we can do with that. So we've went through a lot of the questions so far.
Sure.
Not saying I'm going to rewind on everything, but in how you see this game, go ahead and give us a couple takes as far as what do you see for keys of the game, what the Vikings need to do to be successful.
Yeah, well, I mean, first and foremost, I mean, it's week 2. There's already a bunch of injuries, and that's not something I'd like to see. If we're down 7 starters with Van Ginkel and Darisaw still. Darisaw still not coming out, Van Ginkel out, Harrison's questionable. So I think it's just a matter of mitigating everything you possibly can to avoid, well, for one, more injuries, and for number 2, to just kind of make up for the loss of the people that we're going to have. I really expect a big game from Dallas Turner. I think they're going to lean heavily on the defense in this particular game. I do expect a much bigger emphasis on the early going with the running game in Jordan Mason. So I expect to see a lot of Jordan Mason.
Absolutely. I mentioned that in the Fantasy 15 as far as fantasy football this week. For those of you that play or don't follow us, make sure that you follow us at Fantasy 15 FB. But one of the things that I talked about, I actually had him ranked number 15 this week. And that's because I do see, he had the advantage of carries 15-8 over Aaron Jones. And I do think that this is the type of game where he's going to, hopefully, if the offense gets going, where he's going to have more opportunities in the red zone to either get home in the end zone or maybe even have some goal line carries. So this absolutely could be a game where it's a breakout type scenario for Jordan Mason. I do like him in this game. Again, these first 3 games, we said going into this with Jordan Addison out, that these were going to be games that we were going to try to be run heavy, especially in JJ McCarthy's very first 3 games. Early on in the season, we were going to try to be effective in running the ball a little heavier than what we may do towards the middle end of the season. And again, some of that is just building confidence and building chemistry with JJ McCarthy. And unfortunately, we lost Ryan. He got hit by a storm here last week, and I think that's just taken out his internet. So unfortunately, we won't have Ryan with us for the rest of the show, but he did add something that we didn't talk about much, was that running game. I do expect Jordan Mason again to dominate the carries in this game, but again, Aaron Jones is a good change of pace back. He was having some success, not early. Nobody was really having a whole lot of success early because our offense just wasn't going to where we were gaining momentum. But you could see that we were wearing them down late in Aaron Jones had some big carries in there too. And of course, his touchdown reception that he had was huge as well. There was another point in the game where Aaron Jones got tossed. I want to say it was in the late first or second quarter, early second quarter, where there was a long throw from JJ McCarthy. And they ended up getting a flag on it for a pass interference. But man, Aaron Jones absolutely had his dude beat. So if JJ connects with that throw and doesn't underthrow him like he did on that specific play, that's maybe a touchdown as well. If not, a huge gain. Aaron Jones had his guy beat. Easily could have been a touchdown in that scenario. So our running game, again, we have the ability to have that 1-2 punch. Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones do different things. But again, Jordan Mason dominated at least the touches in this last game. I expect him to do the same versus the Falcons. So again, if we had to break down again where we think this game is going as far as keys to the game, if you're the Vikings, the keys to the game is to establish that momentum and that run game and flow of the offense, or get JJ McCarthy going early. That's what the Vikings have to do on the offensive side of the ball. So they have to do that and establish it early instead of trying to play catch up and hero ball late in the game. We don't want to get into that again. On the defensive side of the ball, the key has got to be stopping Bijan Robinson, staying to the similar game plan that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had versus them in week 1. But of course, making sure that we account for Bijan Robinson in that pass game and don't get burnt by big plays. With Darnell Mooney back and Kyle Pitts and Drake London and Bijan Robinson, limit the big plays. Again, bend, don't break type of defense is how we are going to win this game, and getting home when we do have those sack opportunities. That's going to be crucial for us here in this game with no Andrew Van Ginkel. We hope that Dallas Turner is going to have that big game. We'll see who gets into the rotation, whether that's a mix of Gabriel Murphy, who was brought up from the practice squad, or whether we see someone else step up into that role. The other thing on the Falcons side of the ball, their keys of the game that I see is obviously they want to establish the run. So they have more of a balanced attack that they didn't have last week. And that's what really hurt them, is that they didn't have, again, Algier only rushed for 24 yards and you only had off 10 attempts, and you had 24 yards off of 12 attempts from Bijan Robinson. That's 2.4 and 2 yards per carry from both of those running backs. That's abysmal, and that's not a recipe for winning games. So if you're the Falcons, you want to establish that run game to make sure that you have a more balanced attack. So again, what they want to do is the one thing that we need to stop. So, and then if I'm the Falcons on defense, what I need to hone in on is making JJ uncomfortable. And of course, with the injuries that we have, we want to take advantage of that left tackle, whether it's Walter Rouse or whether it's School, who's starting at left tackle. They're going to be trying to do some different, whether it's blitz packages, whether it's, making sure that they're loading up on that side of the ball. They're going to be trying to pressure from that side all night. We didn't see any pressures last week. The only pressures we had was four from School, and then we had one with Will Fries. Donovan Jackson was perfect. I'm not saying he played perfect ball, but as far as PFF looks at it, he didn't allow any sacks, no pressures, and neither did Ryan Kelly, and neither did Brian O'Neill. So, if we can clean stuff up on the left tackle side, that's going to give us a better opportunity to win this ball game. Now, when we take a look at scoring and game predictions in this one, I do expect us to be in a similar type of game that we were in last week versus the Bears. I see us being into a similar type game against the Falcons. They do have a decent defense to where they were able to hold a high powered offense like Tampa Bay to only 23 points. You got Mike Evans on that team, you got Ibuka, and you got Bucky Irving and Rashad White coming at you. And of course, Baker Mayfield only had 167 yards passing. Now, he did have 3 touchdowns, but he was 17 to 32. That's not efficient passing by any means. And when you take a look at, as far as the defense and what they did in that game, yeah, they didn't get a whole lot of pressures on them. They only hit the quarterback 3 times, and they only sacked him once. But they were able to somehow stymie that passing game that they had, and they didn't have an effective rushing game against Tampa Bay. Did not have an effective rushing game against Atlanta. So Bucky Irving was only able to manage 14 carries on 37 yards. Rashad White had 2 carries for 14 yards. That's not great. So Atlanta's showing that they have a little bit of defense to come in here, and I would equate them to be somewhere along the lines of having a defense like the Bears. I actually think the Atlanta defense has some big time players like a Jesse Bates and a AJ Terrell Jr. that are big players on the defense that could affect the game. And those are both secondary players. So if they're gaining pressure on us, their secondary is a little bit stronger on the back end for them. And that's why you saw Tampa Bay not having as much success, even though they scored 3 touchdowns. Baker in the air, he only had 167 yards. Now, JJ only had 143 yards for us. So we can't say that we're going to come out of the gates and throw for 300 yards in this game. As far as score predictions go in this game, I do see a Viking victory, but I don't see us getting a blowout here. Again, we do have some key starters that are out in this game that are going to affect the way that we play. It is going to affect us to an extent, but I do think we still have the talent, and I think we've built up a little bit of chemistry and momentum as well that's going to carry over in this game. So for my score prediction, what I see us doing in this game is I'm predicting a 27-17 victory for your Minnesota Vikings. Go ahead, throw in your comments if you haven't already. As far as your score predictions, Flo School says Bijan more dynamic as a pass catcher than between the tackles rusher. I agree. Absolutely. He is, because once he gets open in space, man, that guy can make some things happen for sure. Get after Penix should be a dub. I'm with you, Flo School. Again, if we come out early and we have momentum, especially in our passing game, I think we're going to have a lot of success. Our rushing game, I do think that we'll have more success than what we did last week. I think we can get that going earlier. The biggest thing is that JJ is confident early in that ball game. So if he can do that and we can set him up with, and I don't know if this was the case. Flow School says I can't log in, so I'll text. That's fine. Just keep texting. That's fine. And who knows, maybe we can get you on at some point too. But if we can get JJ McCarthy in some kind of a flow early, I think that's going to be our best recipe for success, to where he can gain some confidence. And I don't know if it was a Kevin O'Connell situation where he just wasn't opening up the playbook versus the Bears. But I'd like to see us, open up that playbook and, let her fly. I think everyone was kind of saying, I kind of want to go back to the other guys, right? I'm a peacock. You got to let me fly, right? Peacocks don't fly. But JJ, in the other guy's scenario, he's a peacock. KOC, you got to let him fly, right? So let's open up the playbook for JJ early. Let's just make sure that, um, he can build that confidence early. And then hopefully, we can put the pedal to the metal against the Falcons and get out to maybe even an early lead, or at least have our offense going early. Flow School says Jettas early and often. Couldn't agree more. It doesn't have to be Jettas, but I would like to see us getting our star best wide receiver of the NFL going early in this game. He only had 44 yards in that touchdown. Again, a lot of that had to do with JJ not getting going really all that early, and just our offense was stagnant for 3 quarters in that game. So if we can get more plays to, whether it be JJ, whether it be, hey, Adam Thielen's, got the offense down, whether it be rhythm, chemistry, and Adam Thielen's getting more involved, I think that's great. But, we kept talking about, I know I was talking about TJ Hawkinson being a possible big scoring threat. I think he still will be. They had a lot of good chemistry. So, can he find TJ Hawkinson as well too? I think just getting these guys going early is huge. And it also changes the way the defense is playing. We got to remember early in that game, the Bears were getting home with 4 and then they were dropping back. So we can't let them drop back 7. We got to make sure that they're not getting home with just 4. JJ has enough time back there, if they are dropping that, to make sure that he can make the plays needed. So let's put some pressure on him early, whether that be in the form of Jettas or running the ball or whatever it may be. I do want to go ahead and thank one of our other sponsors that we have on here, which is SeatGeek. And I just want to remind you, SeatGeek, you use code VikeCentral and you get $20 off any $50 or more purchase. And again, that code is eligible for all SeatGeek tickets. So make sure if you're going to any concerts, you're going to any events, or any Vikings Sunday night football games like this weekend, go ahead, go to SeatGeek and use that code VikeCentral all season long to make sure that you get $20 off. And again, another way that you can support us here at Vike Central. If you guys are interested, because we're always looking, sometimes it's, Brent has a family, I have a family, with Ryan and Austin, they help us, and we appreciate them contributing as well too. But we are looking for some other individuals that maybe have a passion and have some knowledge to talk Vikings football, that maybe want to come on every once in a while and just chat it up with Brad or I and Ryan and Austin and talk Vikings football. So if you have a passion for that and you're interested, you can hit us up on our Viking Central email box, or a message box, I apologize, on X. You can also hit me up on my personal account at Steve Hoikkala. Again, just hit us up. Let us know that you're interested. We would like to, if we can, see how it's, see if it's a good fit. But every once in a while, when we have nights like this, if we have the opportunity to kind of bring you in, you want to just pop in and talk. The big requirement is that, again, just have a good enough camera and a mic to where we can hear you. So if you have a really good iPad, even at sometimes, you're in a quiet place, that's a good enough camera. Just throw in some AirPods and we can make it work. Okay. So that's really all that I have. My prediction was 27-17. I got really close last week. I predicted a 31-24 victory for our Vikings. We'll see if I get close this week. I'm hoping that we come out 2-0 out of the break, out of our first home win. Again, we're wearing the classic Minnesota Vikings jerseys. Those are my favorite. It's a really clean look, and of course, it's the classic Minnesota Vikings jersey. So that's probably one of my favorites that we wear all season long. So hopefully, we look good, feel good, and we come out with that victory. For Viking Central, we have our different social media accounts. I hope that you're following us, whether it be at X, YouTube, Facebook, or TikTok. Make sure that you're doing that. And then also our Substack. We write some great articles over there on Substack for you, especially if you're not able to join us and watch some of these live shows and catch that. Make sure that you check out the live stack or the Substack for the articles that we're putting out there. I'll put another one out there for tomorrow's matchup for the game as well. But just make sure that you're checking out our stuff, subscribe if you can, and follow us and like. Those are another way that you can just help support us here at Viking Central. Ryan wasn't able to join us for the full show. He tried joining, wasn't a great connection. But I will say for Ryan as well, he wants to thank you guys as well for supporting us here at Viking Central. So as always, I'm Steve. This is Viking Central. We'll see you next time.